Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm back in my college dorm. Obviously, this is the first video I'm going to be posting in here. In today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys my key takeaways from the Thursday Night Football game with the Lions and the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, obviously, the Lions did win this game 21-20 in a bit of an upset. Of course, the Chiefs were at home. However, they did not have Travis Kelce or Chris Jones for this game, which really helped the Lions in their favor. Obviously, if they had both of them, they probably would have won this game, the Chiefs. However, I do have some major takeaways for both teams. I'm going to start off with the Lions, who are the victors. I mean, the Lions had a great game overall, especially on the defensive side. Over the offseason, I was skeptic of their defense. They were a bottom 5 unit for a good amount of the year, especially in the beginning of the year last year. But this year, they made some humongous defensive improvements, especially for the defensive line and for the secondary unit, as well as the linebacking unit with drafting Jack Campbell, Dan Campbell head coach, Jack Campbell as the interior linebacker from Iowa. And he really was phenomenal against the run against the game. And then you had Aiden Hutchinson, who had 7 pressures in the game. He had a great game. And then you added C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Brian Branch, and Cameron Sutton into the secondary unit. So the defense played very well against the Kansas City Chiefs offense that was sluggish throughout the majority of the game, except for a few splash plays here and there from Patrick Mahomes and then in the end zone. But it's really hard to defend that Chiefs offense, and the Lions in their first game of the season were able to do that. The biggest takeaway for the Chiefs is they either need to find a wide receiver 1 within their receiver room, or they need to go get one, because Sky Moore had a horrible game, all said and done. He had around 3 or 4 drops in the game, and he dropped a key 4th down at the end of the game. And then Kadarius Toney, who you traded for a 3rd-round pick last year. Both of those guys scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl. Both were supposed to be huge breakout candidates. Kadarius Toney had 4 drops within the game, and he had a major drop that allowed Brian Branch to get a pick 6 within the game. So they need to figure out who's going to be their wide receiver 1. It seems like after last game in the room, it's going to be Marquez Valdes-Scantling. He was the lead producer in their wide receiver room. And then Rashee Rice had a touchdown, 2nd-round pick out of SMU. He could potentially be the wide receiver 1, but he's a rookie. He didn't get a ton of burn in the game. It was mainly Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney who got the majority of the snaps. And then Justin Ross, a big offseason hype, a lot of offseason hype surrounding him. He didn't play that many snaps, and he only had 1 reception in the game. So, what do the Chiefs have to do? They obviously have to get Travis Kelce back for this game. But I think they need to find a wide receiver 1. I don't think they have one yet in their room, and they can't force a development. I mean, they're the team to beat in the AFC. So, they can't force a player to be in a wide receiver 1 role. I mean, Juju Smith-Schuster was in that role last year, and he was that consistent safety net catcher guy that sticks with whenever they wanted to go for an RPO. Maybe they could trade for a guy midseason, maybe like a Mike Evans. Maybe they go all out for Devontae Adams if he's traded midseason. They need to find a guy. And I know it might be a week 1 overreaction, but I really don't think they have a wide receiver 1 in their room right now. Marquez Valdes-Scantling could be the main contributor, but he's not a 1. He's more of a go ball deep threat, as we kind of saw that last game where he majority of the time got big play balls. The second thing that I wanted to key on with this game was the running back split between David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. Listen, for all you guys that were big on Jahmyr Gibbs in fantasy and drafted him really high, he'll get more work down the season. This happens all the time with rookie running backs. It's more of a get to the feel of the game. Let's just give him a few carries and ease him in and not give him a full workload right off the bat, because in history, that's gotten rookie running backs injured quickly. Look what we saw last year with Breece Hall, where he tore his ACL in week 7 after getting 15 plus carries in the first couple of games. But even he had 6 carries in his first game. A breakout candidate last year as a rookie, Kenneth Walker, he had 4 carries in his first game. But Jahmyr Gibbs did look good. He looked pretty explosive out of the backfield. He ran for 6 yards per carry on 7 carries, I'm pretty sure, in total, while David Montgomery had 21 carries. I would like to see the balance between the two. They drafted Jahmyr Gibbs super high. 12th overall. Jahmyr Gibbs is a very good passing down back, and he's going to be in on third downs, but David Montgomery is going to be in on those blocking downs. So the Lions got to kind of work in between them. They can't have, you know, David Montgomery was the pure inside the tackle runner between the two. They would rarely run a counter with him. They'd rarely run maybe a power, which is they would rarely pull an offensive lineman to a side and run it to the outside. They would just run draw. They would run inside zone, and of course in the end zone where David Montgomery scored a touchdown, they just ran it right up the gut with him. And then for Jahmyr Gibbs, they would majority of the time run it outside of the tackles. I think they need to find a balance between the two so that a team can if a team sees Jahmyr Gibbs, they just pin their ears back and make a contain instantly. And if the edge rushers sail the edge, that's a null run play for the Lions because they realize that, oh, Jahmyr Gibbs is in the game. He's going to go outside of the tackles, or it's going to be a passing play. But I think between the end of the game, they started mixing in that. And I would like to see Jahmyr Gibbs, of course, get more carries. We'll see that. I'm not worried about that. But David Montgomery was pretty inefficient. He had 3.5 yards per carry, but he did get that touchdown. Expect David Montgomery to have the majority of the workload right now, but later I think he'll start to taper off. Of course, another big takeaway for the Kansas City Chiefs was Jawaan Taylor. I'll have some of the All-22 film playing in the background as I'm talking about this. Look, Jawaan Taylor was either committing a false start on the majority, not every, one of his passing snap downs when he was on a one-on-one, or he was in illegal formation. Why do I say this? It's because if you can, hopefully I'll try to see I'll give the end zone angle and the broadcast angle for this, and also show a clip that you can find on Twitter of his head being way too far back from the line of scrimmage, essentially not being on the line. So the rules are in the NFL, you have to be either close, or your head has to be close or on the same line, vertical line, or horizontal line as the center's waist. And I would say Jawaan Taylor was maybe probably a foot behind that mark. So technically, he's not on the line of scrimmage. Now, I don't know if the Chiefs maybe found a loophole in this rule book, whether they're going to put an extra tight end or receiver on the line of scrimmage, because in football, you need 7 players on the line of scrimmage at all times, or if the refs were just not catching it. But there are sideline refs who should have caught it. Maybe there's a rule that we just haven't figured out yet. Probably not. But Jawaan Taylor was also slide stepping, aka getting off the line, very quick. It's almost suspiciously quick. And if you guys can kind of see on this film angle, on some cases, he was rocking back and he was essentially making a false start or committing a false start. I don't know whether they didn't call it because, refs in the NFL sometimes can be fishy, or it's because there's just a rule in the rule book, or there isn't a rule in the rule book that Jawaan Taylor was able to take advantage of. So it's either the refs were wrong or the Chiefs and Jawaan Taylor were just smart at figuring out another way to get past the rules. But for the majority of the time, it looked like he was committing a false start. Maybe that illegal formation, maybe the Chiefs know something that we don't. Obviously, they're an NFL organization and they've won multiple Super Bowls. But that is something that probably should get fixed and shouldn't become a habit for Jawaan Taylor, because other refs probably will call that when they're obviously not at home. And then I'm going to have one last reaction for both teams. My last reaction for the Lions is going to be their offense is going to be a top 5 unit again in the NFL. They really don't have any holes as of right now outside of maybe their wide receiver 3 as of now with Marvin Jones, but they're getting Jameson Williams back anyways after 6 games, which will be for week 7. After he gets back, there's essentially no holes on offense. You've got Amon-Ra St. Brown in the slot. You've got Josh Reynolds, who had 80 yards in that game. It looked really good, had great speed and burst. You got Jameson Williams, who is going to be your premier deep threat. You have two very solid running backs with Jahmyr Gibbs, your pass-catching elite back, who's extremely fast, and then David Montgomery, who's going to be your workhorse, grit and grind back, who's going to be good in the end zone. Jared Goff is very solid in the system, and you have a top 3 offensive line, as well as drafting Sam Laporta in the second round of the draft. So essentially your offense really doesn't have many holes. You have such a great offensive play caller in Ben Johnson. Their offense is going to be phenomenal for that this year. And maybe this is a week one overreaction. I know they did score only 14 points, but the Chiefs defense, they're not anything to, scoff at. The Chiefs defense was really good down the stretch, and they run a very weird system where they have a lot of disguised blitzes, and they like to, spy quarterbacks, and their secondary has gotten much better over the years as their younger players like L'Jarius Sneed and Trent McDuffie have matured. Trent McDuffie even forced a fumble. I think that their offense should project to be a top 5 unit once again, and when they get easier competition with defenses, expect them to put up 30 and 40-point games. And then my last probably overreaction for the Chiefs, obviously this is week one, but they've got some major question marks, especially on the offensive side. Whether Travis Kelce, he hyperextended his knee, that's why he wasn't in the game. He'll probably come back. Teams can now really pin their ears on Travis Kelce. They can just go, we're going to bracket him. We're going to have not only a linebacker on him, but we're going to put a safety on him, or we're going to put a cornerback on him, always have the slot on him. They can really hone in on their one aspect that they do so well, which is Travis Kelce in the middle of the field and wide receivers that are great after the catch. Because they know that after this game especially, Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore, very rough games. Justin Ross didn't play a lot. Marcus Valdes-Scantling, all you need to do is put a safety on him, and you should hopefully contain him. And then if you get pressure on Patrick Mahomes, he's going to have to hold, or he's going to have to stay in the pocket for longer. But I think Patrick Mahomes' time to throw was like over 3 seconds, just because the wide receivers were not getting open in this game for the majority of the game. So if the defenses can just focus on one aspect with Travis Kelce, the Chiefs could struggle on offense. Not even to mentioning on defense with the Chris Jones contract situation. We don't even know what's going on with that. But I think the Chiefs got some major question marks, and maybe even some on offense. I know Patrick Mahomes is the baby GOAT of the NFL. I think he has a great chance to maybe eclipse Tom Brady in most passing yards of all time, most wins of all time for a quarterback. I know that he's awesome, but I don't think that everybody, like that his level of player, can escape maybe the situation that he's going to be put in this year with a degraded wide receiver room, very young, a lot of slot guys, inexperienced, and a lot of them have drop issues. We'll really have to see how the season goes on with that offense, but if we have question marks about their offense, we can start to doubt whether they're going to become, Super Bowl contenders. I don't think there's any doubt that they're probably going to win the AFC West. I don't think there's any doubt that they could be a playoff team. But then you can start to doubt whether they're going to be a Super Bowl contender or not. But that's going to do it for this video. These are likely big overreactions, but they're just my reactions from the game. Obviously, football's back. I'm super excited. I'm probably going to stream the New York Jets game. Obviously, you can see the flag and the other one. I'll stream the game on Monday night, obviously. And make sure you guys stay tuned for that. But that's going to do it for me. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.